Hey, victory. So, sorry I was late. Actually, I got halfway here and I forgot that I wasn't gonna tape, and then I realized, oh, I always tape for the people who can't make it because it's a final prep. Then I went all the way back home and I made a mistake again, a freeway to get here. And whenever it's bumper to bumper, you always think it's just another mile and a clear up, right? This went all the way to Turnpike. Oh, come on. Do I not have the? So tonight's final prep, yeah.
Yeah.
What time is it? And if we have any time, I got a few videos. And then Saturday's another class. Hey, Robin, hi. I think we almost got a full house. Flavia Hughes on Saturday. Then next Thursday is final. And the Thursday after is final class, yeah. And then the Saturday after the final, we're having a party, right? Yes. Yeah. So if you can make it. Now, it's the parties at last time, which is 1:45 or 2. So shall we just have desserts? Like sweets, snack? What do you think? After the final, so not this Saturday, but the week after.
Are we doing the, like, we have the last, what is our last class a Saturday or is it?
Thursday. Good question. Okay. Do you have your schedules on you by any chance? Might help to write it down. So tonight's final prep. Saturday's the last class. So come Saturday, we'll look at a bunch of stuff. Next Thursday's the final. Saturday after that's the party. The Thursday after that party is the last Thursday day. We're going to go over the final and say our goodbyes. And there's no class after that on that Saturday. They have it marked to go, but who's going to go after you've taken your final and, yeah. So. Okay. So y'all ready with your notes? For your notes? Oh, I think I made a cup of coffee. If I'm not mistaken. I hate traffic. It really adds to people coming from UCSB. That's huge. I mean, that was just, and then coming off of Patterson. That's a lot of light. Okay. So remember we talked about a life cycle, green products having a life cycle? Yeah. Sort of. So that means extraction, if they get minerals from the ground, some products don't have minerals, so they don't do extraction, but it could be extraction. Definitely manufacturing. Definitely distribution. Definitely use, the customer using it, buying and using it, and then the disposal of it when it's no longer needed. So that's the lifespan. And I'm gonna ask you to rate, that's all you need to know for that first question. I'm gonna ask you to rate concrete as a green product and tell me why you rated it that way. Now, let's talk about that just for a second. So you're rating these products, whether they're good or bad, right? But nothing's ever good or bad, including people, or everything's a mix of things. So there might be some building products that are green all the way. I don't know what that would be, but there might be. But a lot of them are mixed, like steel and concrete. So concrete's such an incredible product. And once it's poured, it's inert, so it doesn't off gas. And when you are done using it, like you want to destroy a house, you can just knock that concrete out and use it for road fill. So it has an afterlife too. However, the making of it's horrible. And it emits greenhouse gases and uses a lot of energy. So you can do two things. You can rate a product as plus or minus, or good in this way and bad in that way. Or if the bad's just a little bit, you can say, well, it's mostly a good product. There's a few problems with it, but compared to other things, it's okay. So this is just a way you can resolve that, because you're rarely going to get a black and white. Forest Stewardship Council, what do they do? Forest Stewardship Council. Forest is in trees.
The rate if it's like ethical, the process of, I don't know what it's called, where the lumber is rated by, is the FSC who does it?
Yeah, so it is rated. So tell me what kind of rate. No, you're on the right track. So tell me what kind of ratings it's looking for.
Like if the people who are
green
doing
rating.
it are being treated well.
Yeah, that's one.
Sustainability.
Yeah, and that would cover, I mean, so not all sustainability covers ethical issues, right? Except that last program, that Living Building Challenge, they added ethics to their thing, and probably everyone will from now on. But originally, sustainability didn't include an ethical aspect to it, which is crazy because, So yeah, so indigenous people, a lot of products come from indigenous places where indigenous people live. They get mistreated. There could be bad labor practices all along the way, including the truckers that, ship it.
And the FSC.
FSC, and then what other besides ethics? How about the rarity of the product, like rare hardwoods? If they start using those a lot and we don't have any more, that's not a good practice either. That's definitely not a sustainable practice because they'll be gone. So things like that. So why is a 2x6 wall, which is 24 inches on center, cheaper than a 2x4 wall, which is 16 inches on center? So why would you even question one's wider? That should be the most expensive, right? If it's a wider piece of wood. But on the other hand, it's spaced further apart, so you use less of them. So which one do you think is, we talked about it, which one is more economical? The 2x6 at 2 feet on center. And so I'll tell you that, but then you have to tell me why. Yeah, you don't have to nail, yeah, there's less nailing. That's true. And less wood. I guess those are the answers, huh?
But also they don't have to put it through the mill like
Yeah,
again.
yeah,
And then the scratch.
right. So it is less wood, and therefore cheaper. And the labor is a little cheaper too. And there was a little box in the chapter of your green building book that compared them. I don't know what chapter it's on, but, one of the framing chapters. But everyone who does it comes to the same conclusion. It's either slightly cheaper or a lot cheaper. That depends on the complexity of the building, right? Also. So if someone was comparing a wall, two kinds of walls, framing walls, in terms of efficiency, what would you say that was considering? What? Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. That's true. It would, I mean, it wouldn't use less insulation, but the insulation would be more efficient. But what about just the wall? That's true, but if
The shear strength,
the what?
the shear strength of it.
Yeah, that I would have to say that too. I wasn't thinking about that either, but yeah, if it's more strong, if it's stronger, then it's more efficient, because efficiency is meeting a need the best way. So if strength is a need you have, and that meets it a better way, then it's more efficient. But we just talked about it's cheaper and it uses less wood, right? So those are all aspects of efficiency. All right, you guys are on it. Good. And how about a truss? You know what a truss system is for a roof? Takes the place of on-site framing. And so why, so a truss is a greener solution, a truss roof, than a site-built roof. And why do you suppose? We can talk about it. You guys want to throw out any answers? Uses less, well, it may not use as less wood in terms of the board feet of wood, but what kind of less wood does it use?
Oh,
Engineered.
No, it is engineered, and that's what makes it, that's one of the things that makes it green. It's engineered. It uses smaller wood, right? So almost all trusses either have a 2x4 or 2x6 bottom cord, right? And so, but roof rafters are 2x8, 2x10, 2x12, you know, and those wider boards take much bigger trees. So you're looking at old growth forests sometimes. So you want to use the smallest pieces you can from the forest that's economical and sustainable. So trusses use smaller wood. It could also be green because they're, I guess they are easier to put up, especially if you've got a crew that doesn't like to think. Because building, yeah. So building a site-built roof takes a lot of work, right? If you've taken the roof framing class here, you know it's not the simplest thing. But laying out and putting trusses in a row is pretty. You don't have to think much. You know, you just lay it out and brace them and stuff. So in that sense, it's green. Takes less work. Okay, for all you people that don't draw, this is a drawing problem. Question. I'm going to ask you to draw a 2-stud exterior wall corner. So when I say 2-stud, I mean 2 studs, 2 walls with stud on the end of each. So remember in the advanced framing, we said you could do 2 walls together with just 1 stud on each. If you used what? Drywall clips, because by just using 1 stud, you eliminate a nailer. So the drywall clips will bring that nailer back. But you can draw it from the top, right? Whoops, I guess I drew it for you. So when you draw a plan view from top, often to show that this is the end grain, that it's a piece of wood standing up, they'll put an X in there. But I'll know what it is. Yeah. And then do the same thing for a one stud exterior wall channel. So channels where an interior wall meets an exterior wall. So one stud means the stud's on the end of the interior wall, there's nothing in there. Oh my God, how does it hold up? How does it hold up?
The play runs on top of
The plate? Yeah. If it's got a double top plate, it'll lap over and hold it. And then you can tone it on the bottom into the full plate. And if it doesn't have a second top plate, like this is a form of advanced framing, another one is to eliminate that top plate. Then you have to put a strap across it, it'd be the same thing. So as long as you hold it top and bottom, that's sufficient. You don't need any kind of structure. So name 3 green building or building performance programs. So what's the one that everybody thinks of? How would I know? Everybody's different. Well, LEED has been in the news a lot in the last 10 years, 15 years, right? LEED. And then we talked about Building Performance Institute, that program that did the combustion analysis. So you need a third one. What's the local one called?
What was the second one?
Building Performance Institute, PI. And then what's the local one called?
It's not about a building.
We only have one. Most towns just have one, but almost every town has of any size has a local built green program. So you guys are actually learning all this right now. I don't know why I even teach it. I just have you come 3 times a year, the final prep, the final, and save all of us a lot of trouble, wouldn't it? Or we could have parties the whole rest of the time, either way. Then I'm going to ask why LEED and Built Green have checklists. We've talked about this. That one I'm not going to give you. You're going to have to figure that out. Why do those programs have checklists? They have a lot of items that you can check on, and how you satisfy the programs by checking off the list. But why? What does that mean? Okay, how does Building Performance Institute, I just mentioned that, differ from Energy Star and ResNet? Now, you guys, if you're going to continue in the building field, which many of you are, if you have devices or systems on your house that go beyond a regular inspector's knowledge, they'll tell you have to get a HERS rater, which is a private inspector. We talked about that. And they'll come in and they can look at these alternate systems or things the inspector's not, and they'll give the say so about it. And they're created by a group called ResNet. So that's something you should remember. That's an organization. I think it's an acronym, but I have no idea what it stands for. But ResNet and HERS raters, those are the big alternative to building department inspectors. And so ResNet, the HERS rating system came out of ResNet. So ResNet sets, this is crucial for the question I'm going to ask you. ResNet has been developing standards, building standards for these alternative things. That's what they've done. And so So then they can create, checklists and things for their rating people.
So
Okay.
the answer to the previous. Why didn't these programs have checklists?
Yeah, what are you asking?
That's the answer to the previous one, right?
Yeah,
The building standards.
yeah, well. No, I'll tell you. I don't want you guys to split any brain cells, okay? There's too few to go around anyway, let's face it, so. So when you get, so what do these building programs like LEED and BPI do? What do they do? They inspect homes, but what do they end up giving the client? A certificate, right? So LEED has a certificate. You can put a big plaque and says this is a LEED gold house. Built local built green. You can put a sign in your yard that says built green, or you can put it on your, if you're a builder, you can say we've built many built green homes, so we know what we're talking about. So you can use it as a advertising, a marketing thing. So their goal is to issue you a certificate, or your goal is to get a certificate from them that says your house is more sustainable than normal. So how are they gonna?
Wait, so you pay them to get a certificate? What if you don't get a certificate? Do you still pay them?
No, yeah, you do, but it's all done ahead of time, though. You give them the list of what you're gonna do. Like if you're building a new house, usually you'd work with your architect and say, these are the things I want, or the architect could say, why don't you guys do this? This is sustainable, everybody's doing it. Then you make that list yourself, and then if that list has the amount of numbers, then you get the certificate. But, along the way, they may not work, and to get the certificate, you may not want to substitute something else if it, doesn't work out. And they will come and make sure it works out. Some things they can see or they don't care about, other things they want to make sure you did it. So they'll send these HERS raters out and they'll make sure, you actually did what you said you're going to do. So the idea of the checklist is so you get a certificate that verifies that. That's how you get a certificate. You have so many points, and those points come off that checklist.
So not even like a tax write-off or anything, just certificate?
Since they do cost, I wonder if maybe it is. That's a good question. I've never been asked that, and I've never thought about it. The owner would get the tax write-off, or the builder, right, for doing that. Well, we give tax write-offs for solar, right? So we give tax write-offs for people to corral people to do the right thing. And sustainable building is the right thing too. So it falls in line with that, but I've just never heard of it. I'll try to find out. It's a good question. So Building Performance Institute, we talked about, and Energy Star. Remember, we talked about Energy Star. It rates appliances, but also it rates houses. Before it started doing appliances, it was one of these same kind of programs that rated green houses. But what's the difference between Energy Star and ResNet and BPI? Can anybody remember? Okay. So I just said it earlier, BPI does something extra. They do that combustion analysis. So they do one more safety thing. In fact, they specialize in that safety thing. And that is to make sure your house doesn't burn down by you, having too much pressure affecting your combustion, your house, the things that are combusting in your house. And how does pressure enter into the scene?
Fireplace.
Yeah. So we've gone over this, but one last time, okay? When you depressurize a house, what depressurizes a house besides the blower door? Huh? No, not really. What do you do in a house that forces air out? Yeah, exhaust fans, mostly. You have quite a few of them, right? You've got laundry, you've got kitchen, you've got bathrooms. probably others. So anytime you use those, you depressurize the house because you're forcing air out, and so the house is at a negative. If you have a combustion appliance, it's going to need air too, and it's not can't get it from the house because you just flushed all the air out. So where's it going to get it? It's going to get it from its own chimney. So a hot water heater is going to suck down air to survive. Only it's got a fire down below, and that air is going to blow that fire out into the room around the appliance. So that's how that backdrafting. That's how you get fires. So people have no idea that they're making their house so negative that this could happen. So these BPI guys go in and they do a test and they say, hey, did you know that if you have these 4 things, exhaust things going, that you could easily cause a fire? And then they'll tell you how to cure that. You know, there's different ways you can put your the air that goes in your combustion appliances. You can have it not come from the general house. You can have its own dedicated thing, which is pretty easy to do. That would cure that up right away. But people have no idea. I mean, who would? They just, you know, you put appliances in a house that you need to live with, and then these things can happen. So BPI does combustion safety testing. That's the big difference. Nobody else does that. So I think that's a really good thing. A lot of them do blower door tests and duct blaster and stuff like that, but these guys have the market on the. Okay, Habitat for Humanity. What's that? They build houses for what?
Isn't that that community that goes together and build like a community?
Well,
Out in the middle of nowhere?
it's close. It's a low income developer. And they're a nonprofit. They get people throw money into it.
That's
Jimmy,
one where they do the community service.
I don't know, but when you apply for one of their homes, you have to commit to sweat equity.
That's what I'm-
Yeah. You have to, which means you have to work on it yourself, you and your family. You have to commit to a certain amount of time. So that, you know, that makes it easier for them to build because they don't have to hire laborers and stuff to help. So Jimmy Carter, whose wife just died, you guys paying attention?
Yeah, I had to lower the flag for the baby,
Okay,
if I know.
so, okay, so he and she would work for Habitat for Humanity, and he was like in his 80s. He's 100 now, but he used to work. So this is a good deal because it allows people with low income to have housing. So it's a pretty nice thing. So they usually build, you know, group housing, you know, not just single.
Do we have that in the States or is that just that?
No, we have it here. We have it here in Santa Barbara. Any of you, I was gonna take you guys to one, but did we go there? We did go there. Did I point it out? We walked down in the driveway. Yeah, we did. Do you remember?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we did. We walked down into, so that whole house, that whole apartment complex was, well, it wasn't it's not an apartment, they own them, so we call it a condo, I guess, complex was Habitat. Yeah, they do them every once in a while here. They do them all over Southern California states. So one time I used to take my classes when I taught the framing class and I don't know which one of those. I took them to a Habitat site and we worked there. They're really hungry for volunteers, but it's actually a pretty good experience for the kids because they can be there. They've always got one competent carpenter on the job, and then they have volunteers. So things don't get done perfectly because you're working with a lot of volunteers. But I mean, they'll still be safe. But okay, what's the most common interior wall covering? Yeah, in this country. That's because we do stick framing. If you had concrete walls, you wouldn't need it. VOC, everybody knows what that stands for? VOC, volatile organic compound.
Oh, yeah.
So volatile means it gives off fumes, like beer is volatile, alcohol is volatile.
Organic. Well, no, para que vea, yeah.
Yeah, so organic doesn't mean it has carbonate, hydrocarbonate, but
Que le ponemos pinche porque no vuela, le ponemos la pinche cáscara de manecho, le damos fuego.
so. Anybody can give me an example of a off gas? Here he is, halfway.
The hell you said, mixing class? Yeah, somebody said.
I think everybody's here. I probably don't even need to film this. I shouldn't have gone back for it. I said, oh, they never all come to
White House.
final prep. It's pretty spectacular.
White House, no.
Way to go, guys. Okay, examples of VOC smell. Whoop.
For 7.
What new smells,
seconds.
new product smells? What's the worst new product smell you can think of? Carpet, right? New carpet? That's fine. No, I don't. But whether you like it or not, it's a VOC gas, poisoning at the time. Usually your nose doesn't like things that poison you, but not always, you know? Okay. And then, now what's a nice smell that's a VOC outgassing? New car smell, right? Everybody likes that, I know. But that's VOC, so you should have your windows open until it goes away. New car, you know, smell of the new car, it's upholstery. Okay, radon, is it a threat in yeah, it is. So do you know what it is? Kind of. Yeah. It's a radioactive gas, right? We know that much. That'll do it on the test. Yeah. Yeah, so certain geologic formations like granite, but there's others too that. But RADON. I think it's a half-life of radium. You know, which is a more heavy-duty radioactive thing, but it's radium in the ground, then over so many thousands of years it turns into radon and then it comes up. What do they use radium for? Medical. They use it for radioactive medical devices. I think if you take what is it? You drink a solution with that radioactive material in it for like certain for like certain things, like when they want to see your intestine better or certain things that they can't see just from the scope. They'll put they'll have you drink a compound with radium. It's got radium in it. Small dose, you know, but yeah.
You know.
Nobody's ever had that.
No.
You're too young. Okay. Yeah.
Like antibiotics.
Yeah, it's awful tasting. Nasty stuff. They try to make it better with sweetening.
Do we use it on cars too? Like, for example, when they're finally installed, like the radiator and stuff like that?
I don't think so.
Well, then they have these batches.
You know, it's radioactive, so it's not, in general, it's not good, but low dosage won't hurt you.
I'll be like, I'm not drinking this.
Usually you don't have to, but if it's you know, like colonoscopy, you know what that is? So after you're like 50 or 60, you're gonna be recommended to go get those. And they take a a scope, basically they stick it up your ass all the way, all the way in, all the way into, all the way up to your, all the way to your colon. Like this is 30 or 40 feet, but they have a scope on the end of it so they can see.
I heard it's a lot of camera, but it doesn't.
No, no, you can't. They put you out. You can't. They give you an anesthetic that allows you to be conscious, but you can't feel anything. It's really great. I mean, you don't want to feel anything like that, right? So, but anyway, if you're suspected of having bad stuff going on, they'll give you a radioactive dose to take. That's the extreme. Yeah, you can do a regular one or you can do the radioactive material one. Just wait, you guys. You'll remember this and you'll laugh. Oh yeah, that's what he was talking about. But you know, colon cancer is one of the biggest killers in the country. So for men, colon and prostate are the big ones. And so now they recommend you have this every 5 years after like 50 or 60, I don't know. And it's just a preventative, you know, if you're okay, they go fine, you know, 10 years if you're fine. Well, that's a good way to prevent cancer. I know everybody, it's like, well, what about it? Do you guys have prostate exams at your age yet? 40? Yeah, that's not comfortable either. That's not a scope, that's a human hand. Your prostate's just inside your anus on the top, so they go in and they have to see if it's swelled up or not. But it'll keep you from dying from prostate cancer, so it's worth doing. You just, you know, bite the bullet and do it, you know. Oh God, it's on the recording. Oh my God, what are they gonna think? I just want you guys to live forever, okay? How do we get on that? Radioactivity, radium, that's right. Actually, I think it's barium they use. They used to use radium. Barium's another radioactive isotope. So granite, we talked about granite countertops. So do they have problems? Is it a problem to use granite countertop? Huh?
Yeah.
Why? So where do they get granite now? Mostly from Brazil, I think. We used to have a lot here, but we've sort of used it up over the years. So if something comes from Brazil,
Oh yeah, because they have the travel line, right?
yeah, it's heavy, right? It's granite. So that's gonna cost for, you know, transportation across the ocean, Brazil. And then the mines in Brazil, it's huh? It probably isn't. It probably should be more than it is. So it's got a lot of embodied energy, transportation, labor to get it out of the mountains or the quarries. So when they rate green products, the higher the embedded energy, the worse, right? You want to keep that low. That's a sustainability measurement. Embodied energy. Okay, formaldehyde. This is good for you to know because you'll be dealing with insulation, you builders. So the bad one's called urea formaldehyde, UREA. And the good one, it's not good, but it's less bad, is the other one, which is called phenol formaldehyde. So urea formaldehyde is the worst, and phenol is acceptable. The urea is worse. So, you know, at some point when you're trying to decide on a product, like if you have those material data sheets, and you can look and see, and if it says urea formaldehyde, maybe look for another product that doesn't have that. You would think we wouldn't be using that at all anymore, but So we talked about VOCs and we mentioned that VOCs have products that have VOCs have non-VOC alternatives. That's true.
The alternatives usually more expensive.
When they first make them, they're more expensive, and then the price comes down as people start using them. So like an example is, the best example is water-based polyurethane. Water isn't a VOC, isn't a organic compound. Doesn't have carbon, has hydrogen, doesn't have carbon. So water-based, the non-water-based, I think, has oil byproduct in it, distillates in it, which are VOCs. But when it first came out, it was more expensive, I think, the water-based, but now I think they're the same price. Of course, it's actually a little more expensive because you have to use more coats of it. You know, but okay, indoor air quality. That was one of the dimensions of green building, right? That we've been talking about. And it includes, well, this is a question, does it include combustion efficiency? So what does combustion inefficiency produce? Yeah, toxic gases, right? Mainly carbon monoxide, but also methane and things. So you don't want those, right? So that's part of green, good air quality, is not having those gases. Adequate ventilation is part of it too, right? Because if you have those gases, you at least want your place to be ventilated. Mold, is mold and high relative humidity, are those indoor air quality issues? Yeah. So most people don't think humidity is an issue because we live in a temperate climate and we don't have to deal with humidity too much, but some places humidity can, and it can be here if for some reason we have it in our homes, it can be harmful. So straw bale houses, we looked at those. What did we say? Can they just be built with straw bale and nothing else? That's like when I was a kid, there were bean fields and they would pile the bales up and then we'd make forts out of it. We'd put them, crawl in. You ever do that? You have to live near bean fields. But no, they're not strong enough. In an earthquake country, for instance, they would just shake down. So you need some kind of structure around them. Remember we talked about that? Sure you do. No, well, possibly. So to provide airspace, nah. Did we have something about drainage plan in the midterm? Okay, this is sort of more into the building performance side. What is a duct blaster test? So I would have to say yes for that, but I don't want it. So so this is a great thing. When you say where something happens, like in a thing, that's kind of a partial answer, but what is it testing within that situation? Yeah, it's testing the pressure of the air for leaks. So that would be a better answer. Yeah. Yeah. I almost always give you credit, but I'd rather you know, you know more about it if you answer it a little differently. The air in a house has volume and pressure, right?
Yeah.
There's a volume of air and then there's pressure. During a blower door test, we hold it at a steady pressure, like 50 pascals. So we can compare the volume in and out. Is that right? True or false?
Yeah.
Who said that?
Well, I can't take me to that. Come on, man.
I know, I didn't want you to say it out loud. You just give the answer away. But that's what you're doing. You're keeping the same pressure and then you're seeing how much air you have to put in to replace the air. Ingenious. We could have done that. We know enough to do that 100 years ago, but we put all the pressure stuff into water pumps, which is good, and oil pumps. And we're getting out of that phase, though. So backer rods, you guys remember what those are? Things when you want to caulk something, and if it's too deep, you put a backer rod, those little foam, a roll of foam things of different thicknesses. You put those in first, and then you put the caulking on in front of that. Because if you have caulking too thick, it's going to crack. It can't maintain that viscosity over inches. So you only want to use caulking like 1/4 of an inch, you know, most 3/8. And so to get it there, you have to put this backing in to bring that depth back out for you. To save time in the audit inspection, one can send a survey to the homeowner beforehand to isolate problems. To save time in the audit inspection, true or false, one can send a survey to the homeowner beforehand to isolate problems. Yeah. You want to have as little time in the house as possible. And why is that?
You'll find a bunch of shit.
No, you get paid for that. That's okay. Because people like to talk and they'll talk for hours. You're not making any money while they're talking. So, you know, you want to make sure they get all their needs met, but you don't want to sit there and listen for 2 hours while they go through the. So you quantify, you send them a survey and say, hey, come on, tell me the problems on the survey, and then I'll come and we'll look at it. So convection, why does convection happen? William?
I'm sorry, you guys, the rest of the pilot chance, Patrick, come on.
No, no, that's a good guess, but just in general, what is convection? Yeah, so convection is hot air or water. Convection happens in currents too, going up. And why does that happen? You know, everybody says heat rises. Yeah, okay, but why? So that's all true.
Because he wants to slow down.
Let me think about that. That in general, it does. But no. So when it gets heated, what happens is it expands, right? And so the molecules get farther apart. So for a cubic area, there's less molecules when it's hot. And so that gravity is not as strong. Gravity depends on the mass in that cubic inch or foot. And if you reduce that mass by spreading the things out, gravity no longer has the same pull. So it rises. Gravity is the only thing that keeps it. So gravity, so air. What am I trying to say here? No, I won't say it.
Less moisture.
Right.
So when I have true and false questions, I've told you this before, to fool you. Because if it was easy to see, then it wouldn't be a worthwhile question. To fool you, you have to put a false one that seems true. And then you have to know enough to know, oh, that's not true. He's trying to fool me, right? So usually my false answers are pretty outrageous, so it's pretty easy. Of course, that's not right, you know. But so on this convection one, I think because everybody knows this, I'll use this as an example. Convection happens when heated air gets denser and sinks to the floor. True or false?
False.
Yeah, right. Because it doesn't get denser, it gets less dense. Whatever that word is. Rarefied. Less dense than it rises. But so I had to put the opposite in for the answer for false, okay? So when you get to true and false, just be careful with them. Make sure that you look at every at every thing. Water moves from wet to dry. Don't answer it. Heat moves from cold to hot. Heat moves from cold to hot. No. So these are easy to get confused about. So heat goes from hot to cold. No. Yeah. Why is that? It's trying to balance out. Everything's trying to balance. So if it goes from hot to cold, it means the temperature that it's hot is not in balance. It's unusual. We've done something to make it that way. So it's going to seek cold because it wants to get cooler, probably the normal temperature of air at that latitude. Does that make sense? Could be totally wrong, but it makes sense. It's trying to get cold, yeah. And the way you can remember that is like, why do you have insulation on the walls? Because the hot air is trying to get out to the cold. All right. The pressure in a house tends to balance itself with the outside pressure. Yeah. So these are all balancing things. Hot and cold want to balance each other. Wet to dry wants to balance each other, and pressure wants to balance each other. There's a kind of a standard pressure, and if humans make the house different than that, it'll want to suck in air from the outside to balance it, or spit out air to balance it. This is easy, huh? Negative pressure in a house can be created by fireplace was one. What's that called? There's a name for it. Huh? What? No. Stack effect. So, okay. So fireplace is called stack effect. Exhaust fans, you know what those are. Wind effect. So does wind affect the pressure in a house? Yeah, because it's blowing air into the house, and then the house gets overpressurized and has to blow it out the other side. Okay. And the difference between ventilation and leakage.
One's intentional.
What?
One's intentional.
Yeah, one's intentional. So we're not changing the leakage. We're just making the leakage in places where it doesn't bother us, and we can control it. Maybe we should just live with it, right? Why doesn't air barrier help save energy? What does air got into it? If it's blocking air from going out,
The air that if you've heated or
you've heated, yeah. What was that question? I forgot it myself. Yeah, it saves energy because you don't have to heat as much air because you're not letting go of it so fast. Okay, we're getting close to the end here. Whole house ventilation can be done with a bathroom exhaust or range hood fan, as long as it exhausts the minimum needed CFMs and is quiet enough according to code. Is that right? Yeah. So it has to have the right amount of CFMs for the whole house. So usually one for a bathroom alone won't have it. So you usually have to replace the fan, but you can still use the one in the bathroom. So you don't have to find a place for a new fan. It's got to be quiet too. What does CO stand for? Yeah. Carbon monoxide. Okay, so when BPI tests your house for combustion issues, when it's testing the burn, when something burns incompletely, what does it emit? It's like you have methane, right? Or coal, but we usually use methane. When it's burning incompletely, what gas comes up out of it? Anybody? CO, carbon monoxide. Yeah. So remember I said if you put if your pan goes into your flame on a stovetop, it's creating carbon monoxide because it's making that combustion incomplete. So you got to make sure the top of your fire on your range doesn't hit the pan.
So what's the proper distance for that?
Well, just anything where it's not touching. It could be small. I mean, even if you have a quarter of an inch, that's so hot there, it's practically the same as the flame. But then there could be other reasons for CO2. There could be other inefficiencies in a combustion. So CO2 you're looking for. What else? This is assuming your house has natural gas, because if you're combusting something, that's usually where you're combusting. Is natural gas a problem?
Yes.
Yeah. So you can asphyxiate from too much natural gas, but why does that usually not happen? Huh?
The sensors.
There's sensors, but even before sensors, you got a sensor here. They put natural gas doesn't have an odor. The company puts an odor in it, and it's a distinct odor. And you smell it and you go, "Oh my God, there's gas." So that's great. You know, it's really a good thing. But usually our houses are leaky enough that natural gas buildup won't hurt you. But there's always a situation where there's a room that's really tight for some reason. You know, maybe it's a closet and you have a guest living in the closet. Well, you know, that happens, right? No windows, shut the door. You have a friend sleeping in the heater closet. Okay, so they test for gas leaks also. And adequate draft. Yeah, you want things to be drafted, or the stuff that's going up won't go out. It'll stay in your house. So that's no good. What does CFM stand for? Yes. And what is the worst case depressurization trying to determine?
Does it have to do with combustion?
Yes.
If like all the doors are closed, like everything's closed and the fans are off, like if having the flame on will.
No, if all the fans are on.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're depressurizing.
Okay.
It wants to know if that depressurization is bigger than the need for the combustion fire to have air. So they compare. So it's trying to determine if the depressurization of your house, because of these fans, it's gonna make it dangerous, combustion wise. That's what it's doing.
What's the risk? That the fire, is it a fire risk or is it the all staff?
No, it's the fire. Yeah. For that particular test, the depressurization test. For gas leaks, they're gonna test, and for CO, they can test too. Like say you have a range and they test the oven in case there's something wrong with it and it's emitting, it's not combusting adequately. Nobody ever does this, and thank God for our leaky houses. That's why we never get hurt. But now that that's it for that. Can we stay till 8 and just look at some videos?
I'm so tired. I'm not staying, I'm going.
Yeah, so don't pack up. Let me talk 2 minutes, okay? We want to look at videos. I know I'm tired too. I'm stressed too from that traffic. Jeez. Santa Barbara's going to be like LA.
I live 7 minutes from there.
Really?
Yeah,
And how long did it take you to get here?
30,
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
From where?
from Galita.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
live 12 minutes from here. I live in Goleta too.
I did,
Yeah.
I live right next to the highway. I got out and I was like, ah, shit.
Yeah,
If I go to class,
I know. And you keep waiting for it to.
I was about to just like turn around.
I usually get off at Fairview or Patterson and go to the back way, but I didn't do it tonight. It crawled. It reminded me of LA. I lived in LA for a long time. God, I hate that. Yeah, it won't be anybody. So I may get to these Saturday. I had a whole shitload of YouTubes on new building products that are really interesting all around the world, Europe, and the new kinds of blocks from different material, hempcrete and all kinds of material. It's really interesting what they're doing. And when you look at the YouTubes, you can tell if they're going to be insulated properly or they're going to leak. And most of them that I looked at were pretty good. But there was like 8 YouTube videos that had 4 or 5 products each. It was too much for you. I was going to just start and see when people got tired. But maybe we'll look at some of those Saturday. Or I can give you if you're interested, I can also give you the YouTube name for those. Yeah, because it's pretty amazing. We're so locked into stick building, because we know it and we've got the wood. But the rest of the world's doing all kinds of different stuff. It's really, some of the block system are like, a lot are like Lego. They have, a lot of them are designed for non-builders. So just ordinary people can do it. They still need electricians and stuff, but it was pretty interesting. Some of them were just to make it more easy for non-carpenters to do it, which I thought was kind of interesting. There's a place for that for sure. And I wish I'd seen those. I had them from last year, but I didn't review them till this week. But they had some great sandbag ones that we looked at, and they had some great. All the ones that we looked at, these were better. So I wanted to show them again, but we're running out of time. So come Saturday if you can, and we'll look. There's a bunch of stuff I want to show you. If you're not working. What? Party, Saturday after next is the party. We'll talk about it next week too. Okay, you guys, yeah. Traffic's responsible for this. Huh? Okay, Robin, see you.
All right, peace out, everybody.